The regular Audi e-tron is a practical luxury electric crossover. Then there's the Audi e-tron S. And the Audi e-tron S is the exact same SUV, but it accidentally overdosed on muscle milk. The Audi e-tron S is the performance version of the e-tron. So we have the regular Audi e-tron that makes 335 horsepower in normal mode, 402 in overboost mode, and it is a very comfortable electric SUV. I like it a lot. But then you get the e-tron S, which really increases the performance. This car gets 496 horsepower in overboost mode, and it makes up to 718 pound-feet of torque. Those are pretty steep numbers. But then again, this car is a little different than a lot of other sporty SUVs on the market. And that's because the Audi e-tron S weighs 6,085 pounds. That is a lot of weight. For comparison, the Tesla Model Y Performance weighs 4,416 pounds. Now, I believe this car is in a different league, but to say the least, this thing is very heavy. The e-tron S also features a really unique powertrain. So this car has a tri-motor powertrain. So you have one motor up front and two motors on the rear. The two motors on the rear is very important because that can actually do torque vectoring. So when you're going around corners, you can provide positive torque to the outside rear wheel and negative torque to the inside rear wheel. That really helps out with handling. You also get a 95 kilowatt hour battery pack, but since this car weighs a lot and it has very wide tires, as you can see, this runs on 22-inch wheels, this car only has an EPA rated range of 185 miles. If you opt for the smaller 20-inch wheels, you'll get 212 miles, but this car is very inefficient. But the thing is, with the Audi e-tron S, you do not buy this for the efficiency. You buy this for 4 other reasons. First is luxury. Second is tech. Third is driving experience. And the fourth is the price. These e-trons have come down in price substantially. Brand new, this prestige trim, Audi e-tron S, cost over $93,000 when new. And today, you can find these for under $40,000. That is an incredible price difference. And this car is only 3 years old. So in this video, we'll find out if the e-tron S is worth it at today's prices. And starting off, we have the e-tron side profile, and this car has a lot of presence to it. What we do have are these flared out fenders, 22-inch wheels, and this black trim around the windows. The e-tron S just looks quite aggressive, but also pretty elegant. It's a nice mix. And the e-tron sporty design carries some functions. So we have a front trunk up here, and we open the hood, and there is a small other opening in here. Now, this isn't the biggest front trunk, but you can at least put your charging cables up here. The e-tron S Sportback, even with its slope roofline, does have a decent amount of storage space. So if we open up the tailgate, it opens up automatically, and we got a pretty good area in here. We have a cargo cover to keep prying eyes away from the goods inside, and we have this green thing, which is probably some sort of a hat. I don't know what that is. And in here, we have some hidden storage underneath the load floor as well. So we pull up this, and what we see is a full-size spare tire and additional storage space in here. This is honestly a lot of storage for the back of here, and very few EVs have a full-size spare, so that's pretty neat. And now we can enter the cabin of the Audi e-tron. So first off, we have door handles that are normal. So these aren't flush or anything. You just open it up and the door opens. One thing you'll notice are that these doors feel really good, and they're also soft close on the Prestige trim. So we go here, and it closes itself. And when you're on the inside of the e-tron S, you'll realize that this interior is very premium. So first off, we have AC vents here and AC vents right there. So you will be very windy back here. You'll notice this nice red leather seating material, which is very soft, and these back seats are heated. The other thing too is the materials are quite good in here. So we have a somewhat soft touch material up there, but we do have Alcantara there, aluminum, really nice aluminum door handles, more Alcantara, and leather down there. Overall, it's quite comfortable back here, and even in the middle seat, we have a decent amount of leg room because this floor is mostly flat. There's a small hump, but it's not that big. We also can control our rear AC climate back here when this car is turned on. And as a final touch, we get 2 USB-C ports down there. And we also have this really cool cup holder armrest. So we pull this down and we get our 2 cup holders there. Armrest, some hidden storage. And up front, the experience gets even better. So we do have a leather material on the dashboard, which feels very nice. And we do have ambient lighting, so there's ambient lighting in here and in the door panels. And overall, it feels quite comfortable up here. We have the same leather material as we do in the back seats, plus the stitching pattern on these seats are really nice. So we get this cool diamond stitching pattern, and these seats just feel very premium. Unfortunately, these seats are not ventilated, which is a bit of a miss because this car is over $90,000 and this interior option does not have ventilated seats. We do have a panoramic opening moonroof. So this actually opens, which is really nice. It really opens up the cabin to make this feel a lot more spacious. To turn on the Audi e-tron, you put your foot on the brake and press the start stop button right there. And once this car powers to life, we will see 3 screens. So we have our driver gauge cluster right there, and we have our main infotainment display right here and our climate control menu there. Right here, we can change our temperature and fan speed, etc. Now, the thing is, if we have a Premium Plus e-tron or Prestige just with the ventilated seats, then we would have the ventilated seats icon right there. But this car only has heated, so we see that there. We also have a volume knob there for easy control of the volume. And we can change our drive mode right here. So if we press there, then this upper screen will change. So we go here, and then we can go from efficiency, comfort, auto, or dynamic drive modes. Right here is our center display, and here we can change a lot of stuff. So we can go to the vehicle and we can adjust a bunch of different settings, whether it's drive mode like we just discussed. We can go to our charging menu where we can set charging limits. So right here we can target our daily charging use, and it's pretty functional. Now we also have our maps. So if we go to navigation, we can type in a destination. So let's just say we want to go to San Diego. There we go, San Diego. And then we will get a route. And now it shows us our route, and then we go to e-tron Route Planner. And this will start finding charging stations along our route. So we click there, and we give it a little bit. And there we go. The car finds us all our charging stops, tells us exactly what % we need to get into the charging station at, and how long to spend at those charging stations. And this infotainment also offers a really nice 360 camera. The only issue is, as we can tell, our car is white, but for some reason it thinks it's this greenish gray color. But besides that, we can see our car in 3D. Our lens is probably a little dirty because it's a little blurry up there, but this is a really nice 3D camera. And we also have a top-down view right there. Audi does a pretty good job at cameras, and even if we swivel the steering wheel, the camera moves as well. That's a pretty cool feature. The Audi e-tron is also capable of wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so if you want to use your own maps, you're more than welcome to. But overall, this infotainment display does pretty much everything you want it to do. It doesn't do anything too crazy, but you got good route planning software in there, and I think it's fine for most people. Then over here we have our driver display, and slightly above that is our heads-up display. Now the heads-up display is only available on the Prestige trim, and this is really nice because we can even see our map in there, the speed limit, the speed we're going, and if we have any autonomous driving functionality turned on. So this gauge cluster right here, if we press the view button, we can actually change the way this entire thing looks. So we can see how much range we have left, our battery percentage, and we can even see our map in here. Materials are great on the steering wheel, and everything feels very well built. And we have this really cool drive selector right here. So to put into drive, we pull this backwards. To put in reverse, you push it forwards, and everything in here just feels really premium. We also get 2 cup holders down here, and in the center console, we have more storage, and right in front of that are 2 USB-C ports. This is overall a really nice feeling interior. And now we've just arrived at a DC fast charger to talk about the charging experience on the e-tron. So the e-tron S, like the regular Audi e-tron, has a peak charging rate of 150 kilowatts. But the great thing about the e-tron is that it can sustain that 150 kilowatts for quite some time. So this car has an excellent charging curve. In fact, some independent tests show that from 10 to 80%, it averages at above 130 kilowatts for that entire duration. Audi says the e-tron can go from 10 to 80% in under 30 minutes. That's pretty quick. But then again, this car isn't that efficient. It weighs over 6,000 pounds, has massive wheels, wide tires, and you only get around 185 miles on a full charge with these wheels. If you get the smaller wheels, that range is increased to 212, but that's still not that impressive. What is, however, impressive is that the e-tron S comes with 2 charge ports. So we have our DC charging port on this side, and if we walk over here, we have another charging port for AC. So this is actually pretty convenient. So when you go to your home, you can charge on either side. Not bad. All right, now we're driving the Audi e-tron. So the first thing you'll notice is this car kind of-ish has one pedal driving. So what I mean is this car doesn't really have the creep mode. So internal combustion engine cars will creep forward when you put into drive. This car doesn't do that, but you don't really get any regen from the get-go. So you will need to pull back on this paddle shifter 2 times, and once you pull that on the left one, then you get a little bit of regen. So if I let off the accelerator, we will decelerate, but it's still not that significant. Then when we press on the brake pedal, then that applies more regen. And then once we press hard enough, then we will start applying the actual friction brakes. Now, when you're driving the car, you'll notice that this thing is surprisingly nimble for how heavy it is. So I'm going around these corners, and this car can really get pushed. I like that a lot. But the thing is, you do feel how heavy this car is. So it is a little disorienting sometimes when you're driving this car and you're realizing just how much mass you're throwing through these corners. Acceleration is also really good. This car makes 496 horsepower when we shift into sport mode. So we're in drive right now, and then to get into sport mode, we pull this right here back. So our drive selector 1 time, and now we're in sport mode. Sport mode unlocks that full power, and we can really send this car. So in the straightaway, I can just push it and we can get moving really quickly. The brakes also feel great, so this brake pedal is very well tuned. And as we saw earlier, those massive brake calipers do a great job of slowing this car down. Steering feel is good. It's a little lighter, as you would expect from an SUV, but it's also pretty responsive. And one other cool thing about the Audi e-tron S is that you do get air suspension like the regular Audi e-tron. So this can go up to about 8.3 inches of ground clearance in the maximum mode. So this car can actually get over a decent amount of stuff. And then obviously when you put this car into sport mode or efficiency mode, you lower that air suspension down. This air suspension makes the Audi e-tron feel very comfortable on the road. So if you put this in comfort mode, it is very nice to drive. I think this is a little stiffer than the regular Audi e-tron just because this is more sport oriented, but even in comfort mode in this car, I have no complaints with the ride quality. The Audi e-tron S also has some pretty good safety features, so this vehicle can actually steer itself on the highway, and it has adaptive cruise control, so it controls the distance from you and the car ahead of it. You can take your hands off the wheel for about 10 to 15 seconds before the car will tell you to put your hands back on. So it's very similar to like what Tesla Autopilot is, Hyundai Driving Assistant, some of those basic functionalities. And overall, this e-tron driving experience is pretty cool because this car does many things. It's fun to drive, it's very quick, and it feels very premium in this cabin. There's not much noise, and it's a very nice place to be in. Does this car have the best range? No, but this car can do a lot of other things really well. And as a final verdict, should you consider a used Audi e-tron S? Well, first off, I definitely wouldn't want to buy a new one because this thing came down in price substantially. But for around $40,000, this thing is a pretty compelling offer. Sure, it doesn't have that much range, but it has great power and it drives incredibly well. We also have a very luxurious interior and everything feels incredibly premium in this car. The tech's not bad either. You have a route planner with EV charging, and you also get a lot of cool features like the 360 camera and highway assisted driving. Is the Audi e-tron S the perfect car? Definitely not, but it checks many boxes for me, and I'm sure it's a worthwhile consideration. Thanks for watching.